name is Wouter, as it states on the slides. I'm working at DE-CIX since last year, beginning of last year, as a global the business development manager. And what I'm going to present today is not who we are, what we do, but it's more what we have developed based on the dilemmas most of our carriers have as customers. It all started with a conversation we had with a couple of carriers last year during a Capacity Asia event at a bar with some nice drinks and discussed about their frustrations. It all comes down to one major point. It's to optimize presence. And with that, if we look at the basic rule of any carrier, which is the more points of presence you have, the better. But the downside is the more points of presence you have, the higher the cost is. Now, if we're going to look for the solution, we started with the end customer's perspective, which is, I want to buy some IP transit or transport services from any carrier, but is that carrier going to be in the same location where I am? And in most of the cases, they're not. When we look at a typical presence of a large carrier, then we see that when they start, they have 2 POPs, and they connect these POPs with redundant circuits between, and they expand to 3, 4, maybe 9 in the worst or in the best case scenario, and that's about it. But still, when a customer of them wants to buy their services, they always depend, or in most cases, on third-party connectivity. And that is exactly where most of the time a customer goes to the competition, because it adds a huge amount of additional cost and a latency of provisioning. So, high off-net rate, revenue loss, no bids. And for a financial perspective, when you have a couple of locations in a big metro, you have a lot of transport to have the redundancy and stuff, but it means that there is always unsold inventory or unsold capacity. And out of another perspective, you have high costs. And the result is customer goes to your competitor. Now, when we talked about, okay, what is mostly important to have, it's full net coverage, decreasing the provisioning time, because 2 weeks to 6 weeks to 3 months, it's no longer acceptable. We want all to minimize our unused transport, and we want to have the ability to be flexible, to integrate all the capacity we have for all the business units that are being served, wholesale department, enterprise department, special projects, and so on, and all of that in the most optimized CAPEX, OPEX situation. So if we then looked at the solution, most cases, it goes to the competition. Another solution is, yeah, let's build our own POP, but it's not very cost efficient. Or we can now have a look at what can we offer out of DE-CIX with our FlexPOP solution and integrate it. Now, what does it mean, FlexPOP, and what does it represent? It's get all the presence that we have in big metro areas. Like the past 25 years, we have built as an exchange, and to be able to sustain our exchange, we have built the most optimized metro network that actually any carrier can dream of. We don't have a big global backbone. We don't have large capacities on global backbones, but what we do have is a fully optimized metro carrier network. In addition, we decided, based on the input that we got, to have no rate limitations on VLANs from all our POPs to actually a customer's POP. And in this case, we also needed to be able to treat the solution into a carrier's network as their own infrastructure. So the need was, can we seamlessly stitch your metro network into our backbone infrastructure? And by having one procurement process, which takes 1 week, 2 weeks to get all paperwork done, we can afterwards skip all that and only focus on provisioning, which is at this day maximum 1 business day. When the API integration is done, it's going to be a split seconds. And this all at the cost for 1 physical POP. Now, if you look how it works, we defined a zone which includes the Frankfurt area, Düsseldorf, Hamburg, and Munich. And if you look at the typical setup, this would be a normal situation for, let's say, most of the carriers. And then in implementing FlexPOP, it's implementing all of our virtual nodes then, in case for carriers. And add all of the metro areas into this one big zone, which results in a 50 POPs presence instead of 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Now, once implemented, you have the full coverage. You have a full integrated infrastructure stitched to your own carrier backbone, and have a full optimized prepaid transport capacity, because you only need to configure the VLAN size based on the capacity you need for that specific customer to that specific node. And all of that in a full optimated financial situation. And that's basically it. So are there any questions? If you have, I'm still around here for the next 2 days. You can always drop by at our booth and just grab me by my arm, send me an email, call me. I'm happy to explain any further details. But thank you.